So I just want to say hello to everybody if you're joining us on the replay, and for all of those of you who are here in person. And so, like I mentioned, tonight I want to go over our new website that I'm super excited to introduce to you. And then we're going to have a Q&A, and we've got some really different questions this time. And I'm excited about going through the questions as well. So Matthew, if you want to share the screen, let's show them what we have.
All right, let's do it.
And I will say, if you are a new student from OREA, you already have this because this is actually the system that you bought. You were the first ones to take advantage of this. And I do want to add, I am going to make an offer to everybody, but if you just bought from the OREA Summit, from the National Summit, then what's for you is to watch us go through the website. There's nothing for you to buy because you just bought it, okay? And I want to be very clear about that. So hopefully you have enjoyed using it as well. And I do want to comment that this is brand new, and we have welcomed some tips and comments because there's still a few bugs, as in any new thing. So if in the process of using the website, if you notice anything, please email Matthew at info@thenotebuyer.com so that he can be aware of it. I appreciate your help in getting that all taken care of. Okay, so are we good to go?
I think so.
Okay, awesome. So this is it. And I have wanted to do this for so long. And I'll tell you how it came about. So previously, you know, we changed from the hard copy books to an online training platform. But what I found was when I started going through it, I was overwhelmed with 35 years of training all in one place. It's like, oh my gosh, just show me what I need. And I'm thinking that's probably what you were thinking. And so what I did was I went through and I chose the best of the best of, because I've had some trainings that were just phenomenal, that just, it's like, wow, this is so good that it even impressed me, you know, and I was so excited about it. So I pulled those out, and then I added some new material, and I edited some and added specific sections to it. And so this is really the best of the best, and it's very well organized. And the intent is that you can get through all of the material that you need to learn everything that I teach about notes, but in the most efficient, organized way, so that you don't have to watch 10 different examples of Sam and Bill, you know? And I know some of you can relate to that. You do need to watch it at least once. Most people like to watch it twice. So without further ado, let's go through it and I will show you what we have. So right now we're on the dashboard, so you can click there and it will take you to this page. So this is where you start. This is your library of all your courses. And you can see right here, this takes you through really everything I teach about notes. Okay, here's an overview. Then we go to the introduction to notes, just what are notes about, how to flip a seller carryback, how to use the easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching, then how to get started with the calculator, how to use notes inside your IRA. And Carl, I'm really glad that you're here because you can make some comments on that when we get to it. And how to use notes outside your IRA, where to find investors, and then that pretty much covers the seller carrybacks, the basic how to flip a seller carryback. But then we get into the master strategies, and that would be like doing the partials, or many of you are familiar now with my new strategy. It's very exclusive. It's something I personally designed. Took me a couple years literally to put it together, and that is using an option agreement instead of doing the partial purchase. It's a much, much better way to go. And if you haven't seen any of the teaching on that, that was during the world tour that I introduced that, the 2020 and the 2021 world tour. If you have not seen that, then you might want to just start right here. Also, people ask me all the time about doing private lending. I even have some questions about that tonight. And I have been doing private lending since the year I first started doing notes. And my private lending program is extremely unique. I don't know anybody else that does this type of program. And I designed it because in the 1990s, I was doing a lot of rehab loans. And do you know that in all my years, those rehab loans were the only ones that really lost money because the market would change. Things would happen like a whole town, like the industry shut down, and now all of a sudden there's rentals galore. Nobody wants to rent anything. And so I really learned a lesson. And so I don't do rehab loans, but I have a really good program. It's great if you want to lend money, and it is the safest way that I know of to be a private lender. So if you're interested in that, you might want to start at course number 10. And then down at the bottom here, we have the library of forms. And that's where you can access forms for both the good paper and the bad paper. I do want to make one comment. You notice I did not have anything on here for the non-performing notes. We will be adding that. To give you a little background on the non-performing notes, if you want to learn that, it is in the 2019 media set. And Matthew will be pulling some of that in with a new course to add to it. But if you want to do that right now, you would go to the 2019 media set. And I think I spent about a day and a half teaching on that. Okay, so we will be adding that to it. Okay, so then if you continue to scroll down, it gives you the progress report. So it tells you which courses you have already completed and exactly where you're at. Okay. Okay, so this is your library, and you can expand it all or you can collapse it. So if you expand it, then you can scroll down and see each course. Okay. Or you can keep it collapsed so that you can see each individual name. So let's start this way. Now, what you want to realize is that this is all set up first as courses, and all of the courses are numbered. Okay, so if you see something with a number, that's a course. But each course is divided into individual lessons, which I loved. When Matthew showed me this format, it's really great because if you don't want to know everything about how to flip a seller carryback, you just want to know how to evaluate it. Well, you can quickly go and just select that one lesson. So that's what I mean. This platform makes it so efficient for you to learn without needlessly watching, hours of videos that you already are familiar with. So let's take a look at this. This is just an overview of note buying in general. And I should tell you that each course has a short little introduction video, a minute or two, and each lesson has one. And so don't think, oh my gosh, I've already watched this, because most likely you're in the lesson introduction. Okay, so let's start with the first course, and that is an introduction to notes. So you can see here's the little 1 minute, 50 second, it is a 50-second introduction. Okay, and then I try to put a description here as well, in case you don't want to watch the video. You can just skim through here real quick. And the gist of this is that I'm sharing some of my favorite strategies where you can make lump sums of money or create a cash flow or build a financial future. So you can look right there, and then you know whether you should go on to those lessons or whether you want to look at something else. Now, this is the important part, the course content. Okay, don't mistakenly think that that 50-second video is the material, because it's not, okay? So let's look at popular strategies to achieve your goals. Okay, so now you can see this has taken us to the lesson, okay? And it says lesson introduction. You know that you're in the course Introduction to Notes, because that says that right here, okay? So this is the introduction to the lesson. Again, it's a little 54-second video. This is the written, just a brief summary of what you're going to learn. And then here is the important part where it says featured content. So this is a 43-minute video, in which I share some of my very favorite strategies, okay? And then what is so cool, you can download the video, you can download the audio, you can download a transcript, or you can download, we call it a manual. Now, in some of these, it will be the PowerPoint that I used, okay? So you could actually download this, print it out, and stick it in a notebook. Sometimes it's actually a written, like a chapter out of one of the books, or it might be a handout or something like that. But if you are like me, I haven't gotten used to the Kindle thing and everything electronic. I love a hard copy book. I like to highlight everything. I like Post-it notes on it and all that. So if you're like that, then you may want to print out the manual and just stick it in a three-ring binder, okay? And then if we have any additional resources, you'll see these. For example, on here, this was a goal setting handout. And so you can download that, print it out. I also have tried to put key forms and documents that pertain to this particular lesson. I've tried to put them in here as well. I will be adding more to that just to save you, so you don't have to go to the library of forms to look for something. You should be able to download it from right here, okay? So then you can go through and you can click next lesson, okay? And we see this is the second lesson of the Introduction to Notes. Now, I got to tell you something. Right before we came on, I had already made up my mind where I was going to go, which course and everything. And it worked great this afternoon, but right before we came on, for some reason, it skipped a lesson. And Matthew's going to work out and figure out what the deal is with that. But if you happen to go and you feel like you lost something, it's not your fault, okay? Here's what I would do until he works out that bug. What I would do is I would use this really handy drop-down menu. Okay, so if you want to go to, let's say, flipping seller carrybacks, that is the second course. We know that's number 2. This is the introduction to flipping a seller carryback note. And I've got a list here of different things you'll learn in this particular course. And then check out the course content. I've got it broken down. How you flip a note for profit, where do you find them, how do you talk to the note seller, what does a perfect note look like, how to evaluate the note that you're considering buying, how to use the note purchase agreement and which kind should you use, the due diligence, and then the closing. So do you see what I mean with it being broke down in these lessons? You can really zero in and just drill down into whatever particular subject that you want. Okay, so if we go back to, well, let's look at one of these lessons. Okay, how to flip a seller carryback note. Okay, so you can see we are in the second lesson, flipping seller carrybacks, and I said the wrong thing. We are in the second course. And this is a lesson in that course. And so again, we've got the little introduction, what you're going to learn in this specific lesson. Here's our featured content. And that looks like about a 34-minute video. Again, you've got your downloads and some additional resources. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these. I just wanted you to feel comfortable with how it works. So basically, I would use this drop-down menu. You want to know how to use notes inside your IRA. Okay, so, maybe I didn't do a introductory video for that. I don't know. But in here, I show you my $100,000 recycling plan. That is a really cool strategy that my friend Mark Halpern, he challenged me to put that together. So you can go through that, okay? And we can come back up here, whatever it is that you're looking for, let's go to finding investors. Oops. Oh, the Zoom thing. It had a pop-up that I couldn't get to. There we go. Okay, let's look at the partial purchase. Okay, again, you've got your introduction, you've got your course content, and so you can go directly to the lesson, and there you go. Okay, any questions on how to navigate through the website?
Nothing online so far. Well, you guys can unmute if you'd like to ask.
Okay, if you come up with any, feel free to put them in the chat and we can go over them. I'm really excited about this, and I want you to know that this is going to be a very fluid platform. Everything that I do from now on, it'll be put on here. So you will get added content as we go. Like I said, the next big thing I want to add is the non-performing notes. We want to get that put on here. So let me share with you, I put together an offer for you. Matthew, do you want to pull that up for me, please? And I have to tell you that this was a real challenge. So I have some students that have been with me for over 30 years. I have students who have been with me for 20 years, brand new students, like I've got students who probably bought my first course for $199. I have others who have been investing in the world tours, in every academy, and so everyone is at a different place. And my goal is to get everybody onto this platform. One, because I think it's the best platform and I think you will enjoy it more and you will get a lot more out of it, but also because this will make it easy for us to do the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. I can refer you to the specific lesson that I want you to go over and that kind of thing. Well, the problem is, how do I come up with an offer? Because I wanted to do something special, my Christmas special, you know? And so bear with me because this might seem a bit complicated, but I promise you it's not, and we will get through it. Matthew, how do I scroll down here? I don't see my scroll bar. I think, yeah, there we go. Thank you. Okie doke. So I have 3 different offers depending on who you are, okay? First of all, before we get to the 3 offers, I want to reiterate that if you just got my program at OREA's National Summit in November, just a few weeks ago, then you don't need to buy anything else. You've got everything, okay? So this is not for you. This part is not for you. But if you have invested in my training in the past 6 months, so you have the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching, and we're doing deals together, and you're working and getting your direct mail out and doing various things, then I'm going to give you a free upgrade to this website. I want you to have the website because it's going to work great with the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. You will also get all of my archives. That is all of the training that my master guide, my smart seller financing, my calculator books, all of my training will be put in archives. And Matthew is going to add that. Right now you access it from a different website, but that will be added on to this website so that you can go scroll down and access that as well. The option that I have for you, and this is a special offer, is if you would like to extend your coaching, you can get an extra 6 months of coaching added on to whatever you have left for only $747. Okay. So this would be you. You get the free website, you get all the archives free, and it's optional. If you don't feel like you need to extend the coaching, no worries, you don't have to do a thing. Okay. Then we go to option number 2. This is if you have invested in the last couple years with me. And the big benchmark, if you will, is if you have the 2019 Note Buyers Academy. If you have invested in that, then you've got my newer material. And so my offer to you is that I will, for $747, you will get an upgrade to the new website platform. You will have access to all of the archives. Now, some of you might already have access to everything, but some of you purchased just the academy or just the stimulus plan or, things like that. So in that case, you're going to get access to all of my archives. And then you can also renew or extend your Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. And you can get all of that for only $747. And I might mention, because I think some of you are new and don't have any of my materials, and that would be this third offer here. Okay, so if you are a brand new student, or you're not yet a student, or if you have been with me for many, many years, and you have my old black book with gold embossed writing on it, like Trump's Art of the Deal. That's what I took after. Or if you have one of my older courses, it's time for you to upgrade because it's completely different now. So on a retail price for the whole system is $24.97, but my special for my Christmas special is just $9.97. So whether you've bought my course years ago and you need an upgrade, or if you're brand new and have never gotten my course, then you can get everything for only $9.97. You will get this brand new website. You will get access to all my archives, and then you'll get 6 months of the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. And like I said, the retail price of all of this is $24.97. So by dropping this down to $747 and $9.97, I don't think you're going to see it that inexpensive. I don't know when I've done it that inexpensive. It's been years ago. Okay. So hopefully, if this is something that you need, I hope you will take advantage of this special offer. And I apologize. When I moved my laptop, did not plug it back in. Let me do that real quick. Okay. Okay, so those are the 3 offers. And Matthew, where do they go in order to take advantage of these?
There's a button down here they can click on.
Oh, they just click on the buttons. Okay, cool. Okay, any questions on my special offer?
Donna, I have one.
Okay.
Your black book from over 2 decades ago. Do you remember how much I paid for that?
I was trying to remember. You tell me, because you probably remember.
I don't. I'm thinking, $9.97 is cheap at today's things. Was it really $4.97 maybe? I don't know. I mean, I'm still using some of those forms.
When I started out, I think my first one was $299. And then
Yeah.
for a long time, I was at $5.99. And it was like such a stretch to break 500, you know? So a guess is you probably paid around 700 for it. That's a guess.
Okay.
You know what? I don't think that is right. I think you paid under 500 because that I put out in the early 1990s.
Yeah. I mean,
You paid less than 500.
I mean, just
Carl,
look at
you
what,
need an upgrade.
well, no, I got the upgrade, you know, from 2019, but
Okay.
well, you know, I was just trying to consider it with inflation and how much real estate was and how much that package was. And it was a great deal when I bought it back then, you know, and I've used it for 20 years, but, so,
Well, the big thing is how much money have you made off of it? Because
yeah,
that
right, exactly.
it's like, wow. And hey, listen, in case you don't know who Carl is, this is Carl Fisher, my very good friend, and he is the principal of CamaPlan. And CamaPlan is an IRA administrator. And if you do not, if you have one, you should switch. If you're with somebody else, if you don't have one, you need to sign up with CamaPlan. And I will tell you why. And this is honest to God's truth. If I deal with a lot of different IRA custodians because I'm helping my students, and my students are investing in the note. Hands down, without any doubt, CamaPlan is so much better than all of the other administrators. And the biggest reason is that, Carl, you have done an amazing job of setting up your office and the way, like, to take off that your people spend the mornings working on deals, you know, and they contact you if they need something. Like, it's so much easier to get a hold of your people, and they are so helpful. And the bottom line is, I can close a note deal with CamaPlan so much faster than any of the other IRA administrators. In fact, there's one who I'm not going to name, but when people tell me that they have their IRA with that company, I cringe, and I almost want to say, look, maybe this note isn't for you. Because when we're doing notes and, you know, people want to close like yesterday, it's so important to be able to have your money available and easy to get to with a lot of red tape. And with this other company, literally even paying an expediting fee, and when there was not one comma missing from any documents, you know, everything was complete, it would take me a week to close. And that's a deal killer. But with Carl and with CamaPlan and his people, I can close deals in 2-3 days. I mean, it is amazing. So Carl, I'm not just saying that, I mean that so sincerely. And thank you for doing such a good job of offering your IRA administrator platform.
Yep, no, it's no problem. I appreciate the compliment. But you have to remember too is, you know, my sister and I started the company and we're longtime real estate and note investors. So it's, you know, we set the company up for investors, you know, by investors. So we know what people want, and you're 100% right. You need to get that stuff closed out and to the people, because, you know, a lot of them come to us and say, I lost a deal because they took too long. So, yeah.
That is absolutely right. I mean, I remember sitting with you years ago going over notes before you even had started CamaPlan.
Yeah.
I remember that. And it does make a difference when you, as a principal in the company, invest in notes. So it changes everything. So if you do not have an IRA set up, or you know what, you can have multiple IRAs. If you need to do that, you can go to my website, thenotebuyer.com, and you can scroll down and you will see where you can, it's a link to CamaPlan. And when you do that, Carl's been very gracious. I don't remember exactly what the offer is, but it's a discount on the setup fees or something like that. So it saves you some money. So go through my website and that was a
Yeah,
good.
for the setup fees, since you're doing a Christmas, December, since you're doing a Christmas, December, discount, we'll only charge everybody $1.
Charge them what?
$1 to set up their account in
Are
December.
you- Hey,
So Donna, can I ask a question? This is Antonio.
sure.
Carl, so you're saying that if I have an existing self-directed, I can transfer it to you $1?
Yes.
I will be calling you tomorrow.
Hey, Carl, we're approaching Christmas, not April Fool's Day. Are you serious?
No, I mean, things are, let's get it done. I want people to be happy and have good service and make money. And Donna and I have been working together at least over 2 decades. I met her in high school, I think.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So,
Well, Carl, that is super generous, and thank you for offering
yeah,
that.
but they got to come in from your website, Donna.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
very good.
But Donna,
So-
go ahead.
Matthew, maybe you could move that button up to the further on the website so it's easier for them to get to.
Okay.
Okay. You were
Sorry,
gonna
pretty
say
high
something?
up. Carl's a pretty high priority, all right, but we can maybe move him up a little more.
Yeah. We got to move him up a few notches with that kind of offer.
So actually, you have a few questions in the chat about the offer, Donna.
Okay.
Carolyn wants to know, she says, as someone new, when does the 6 months of coaching begin if you have not yet gone through the courses?
Okay, it begins when you buy, okay? And I'll tell you why it's like that, because you don't have to go through all those courses that I just showed you. I encourage you to go through how to flip a seller carryback note, but the whole idea of the easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching, is that you're going to learn as we close a real deal. The coaching, the 6 months starts right away, but the coaching doesn't actually begin until you send me a note to buy. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the website and you'll see how to market for notes, where to find notes. You watch that video and decide which method you want to use. Most people, quite honestly, they love the direct mail. But if you don't have money to spend on direct mail, there's lots of other ways you can get referrals and do networking. Watch the video and you'll see, and you decide how you want to do your marketing. If you have any questions, email me, because if you don't find the note, we're not going to start the coaching. But I really believe it's very thorough, and I think that all your questions will be answered if you watch the video. But if for some reason you've got a question, email us and we will get back to you on it. So then you do your marketing. When you get somebody that calls in response, you fill out the submission form, and then you email that submission form to me. And that's when the actual learning experience starts. And I will evaluate the note. I write everything out. You will see all my calculations, the offer, anything that I return to you in red, you can literally read it to the note seller. I mean, I hope you ad lib it, but my point is I take the guesswork out of it. I do everything for you so that you don't have to worry. You know exactly why we're offering that amount and you know how to present it. And so then when it's accepted, you let me know. I prepare the note purchase agreement, and basically you're going to be like a liaison with the note seller, and I'm going to be a liaison with our investor and with the title company and on the back end. So you'll get the note purchase agreement signed, gather up some documents, get them to me. I will order title and appraisal. I'll get our investor lined up. And then when we close, we split the profits 50-50. And I have done this since the very beginning. The easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching, from the very first time that I made a presentation, I offered this. And the reason I've done it all these years is because it works. It is really amazing when you have a real deal on the table and you're going to make some money. You learn so much better. You know, it's not just some imaginary, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? No, we're going to make money when we close. And so that is how the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching works. Hopefully that helped you. Other questions, Matthew?
All right, so let's see here. Yes. So just to clarify, if they bought at OREA, they don't have to buy it.
They don't need anything else. You have everything. Okay, the reason you were invited to this call was just so you could see me go through the navigation and because of the Q&A. Okay.
Yep. I'm going to put this link in the chat. I meant to do that earlier, so I didn't. You guys can go here. It's thenotebuyer.com/Christmas, and it has the details on here. And you can look on this table. And I try to make it as self-explanatory as possible. So check this out. And if you have any other questions, let us know. But the idea is, if you've bought in the past 6 months, you can shoot us an email and we'll give you free access, free upgrade to the new online academy. And then you can get the coaching extension and everything else for the 747. If you bought since the 2019 Academy, you should have the 2019 media set, and you can get this offer. And then if you haven't yet invested in Donna's materials, or it's been a while, the 997 offers for you. So there's a few questions about that. If you guys still have questions, let me know, and I'll bring them up to Donna. Let's see here. Did I miss anything else?
Again, I apologize for the difference, the 3 different offers, but it was the best way I know of to keep it equitable. And that I didn't want people who just bought to have to rebuy, but at the same time, you know, the people that have never bought, they need to pay for it, you know, so I just was trying to be fair to everybody. So if you have questions, please reach out to Matthew at info@thenotebuyer.com, and he will get a hold of you and answer any questions you might have on that regard.
Cool. And I'll get back to some of you guys in the chat too. And how long is the offer good for, Donna?
You know what? I can't remember that. Do you remember what we
I
decided?
think we said through the end of the month.
That's right. We said through the end of the year because, yes, this is our holiday special. So this is good through the end of the year.
Hey, Matthew, Gina's got a good question. Could you fill in on that?
I'm trying to scroll through here. Let's see. Okay, Gina, if we bought the master guide system in 2019, is the old website going away? Will we not be able to access our course any longer? So those of you who already have invested in the master guide system and are accessing those things on the notebuyer.com, we're basically transferring all of that to this new site. And so eventually, soon, hopefully, everything will be accessible in one place. For now, some of it's on the new site, and the things that you're used to are on the notebuyer.com. But you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to lose access. Everything will be, you know, brought over one for one. Might look a little different, but the content will be the same. And once that is finished, then the notebuyer.com will not be a place for you to go for the training anymore. It will be the Note Buyers Academy.
And just to reiterate what Matthew just said, you don't lose access to any content. It might look a little different once we move it over here. And for example, if you haven't bought the upgrade, you wouldn't have access to the new stuff, but everything you've already purchased, you will have access to in the archives.
Okay, so Dave and Nicole, the issue with the freezing, I'm not sure. Let's see if you could let me know which video that is. I could look at it. I will say this, we host the videos from Amazon, and they have a, if maybe you freeze the video, or excuse me, pause it and walk away. I think what you're saying is that it's freezing while you're playing it. I will look into that. But just know that if you pause the video and walk away and come back to it 30 minutes later, you might need to refresh the page or come back and go back. That might sometimes become an issue. And same with the links. Sometimes the links will be, will expire and you need to refresh it. I'm figuring out how to put a note on the page for that. I have something like that on the 2019. Anyways, it is a work in progress. So thank you for your patience. We do want to make this excellent and easy to use. So your feedback's appreciated. And, David and Nicole, if you got, okay, I see organizing set up. I'll look into that and get back to you guys on that.
Okay, any other questions? Because I'd like to get onto the Q&A questions.
Yes.
Donna, I have a question, if it's okay.
Okay.
My question is, on the coaching, do you also assist with notes that are owned by the banks?
Thank you for asking that. Actually, I don't. The coaching is for the seller carrybacks, the performing seller carrybacks. And the reason that I only offer it on those is because I have systemized that, and I can easily handle multiple transactions by myself. Whereas when you're buying notes from the bank, and primarily those are non-performing, I know they sell some performing, but those take so much longer. It is a much more intense process. I mean, back in the 2000s, I used to run a pipeline of 50 notes, and most of them were non-performing. And the thing was, I had 7 or 8 people working for me, and so I had a lot of help. There is no way I've closed the office. Matthew is my only one that works with me, and so there's no way I could possibly coach on the non-performing notes. That being said, and I know this is supposed to be a market update, so here's the market update, part of it anyway. So I believe we're going to see a huge influx of foreclosures. People are not able to make their mortgage payment. Inflation is so out of hand. And so I do believe we're going to see a huge influx of the non-performing notes. And as I already mentioned, right now you can go to your 2019 media set, and there's about a day and a half of training that I did in my live academy on non-performing notes. But as this market begins to explode again, I will be doing all new training. I will be putting the training on this new website, but the coaching, in order for me to coach you on non-performing notes, I'm reserving that for my Note Masters group. And I don't really want to get into that tonight, but if you are interested in a much higher level of coaching and you want to do the non-performing notes, shoot us an email and let us know, and I can get back to you. My Note Masters group is my inner circle, and I actually have 3 openings for it now, and it would be a great time to get into it because our annual retreat is the first weekend of January, maybe second weekend. But if you are interested in something like that, get a hold of us as soon as possible. But those will be the only people where I personally coach on the non-performing notes, only because of the limit in the amount of time that I can spend.
What about commercial seller carrybacks?
Love commercial seller carrybacks, and I have buyers for them. So absolutely, I would love that.
Thank you.
And this, as long as it's a seller carryback, that would fall under the easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you for asking. Okay, are we ready to go to our other questions?
I think so. Let me just double.
We can
check.
always come back if somebody has. I
Yeah,
just
sure.
you've
Oh,
got some-
yeah, let's jump in. We can come back. I do want to say one thing. Samantha had asked about the stimulus plan. We incorporated the stimulus plan into the marketing for notes on the second course. Flipping to
Yes.
Finance notes.
And
So,
at this point, the stimulus plan is not the most up-to-date marketing. What I have on this website, it's course number 2, how to flip a seller carryback note. That is the most up-to-date information. And so it really replaces the stimulus plan. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, let me get to these questions. Bryson would like to know, what would be considered a fair or expected rate of return on a performing note in the current interest rate environment? He is thinking that your rates of return would go up as interest rates increase. That is, generally speaking, that is true, Bryson. You usually see an influx in the rate of return that the investors are looking for. But there's also something that kind of controls that, and that is that you have to have a price point that the note seller will accept. And so if you think, well, interest rates are going up, so man, if I can't get a 10% return, I'm not buying this note. In some cases, not all, it depends on the terms of the note, but in some cases, a 10% return would be a huge discount. And then in that regard, the note sellers, you're never going to buy a note. They're going to turn the deal down. So it's an interesting thing because theoretically you would definitely see people wanting higher rates of return, but you've got that other aspect of it that kind of controls it, and you've got to find that balance. But overall, yes, I would say this, that for a long time on a perfect note, I might have been offering like 7% to an investor, and now I'm more at 8%. The other thing that happens is that interest rates, when the note is originated, have gone up. For a long time, we were seeing a ton of 0% interest, 4% interest, and the lower the interest rate on the actual note, the more of a discount that you have to take to get whatever yield you want. Well, now they've eased up, and I'm seeing 8% notes right off the bat. Well, if we take an 8% note, again, it depends on the terms, but you say you do a minimum 5% discount or 10% discount, that can put you up over 10% many times. So it really is interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I love running the numbers, because sometimes what you think is going to happen isn't what actually pans out. Okay. Connie would like to know about investing in notes in Illinois, and then how easy would it be for her to go to other areas. I am sorry to say, but I would not buy a note anymore in Illinois. I used to frequently, but I have not bought a note in Illinois for a number of years now. They are so anti-investors. And I'm going back to the times of the SAFE Act. Boy, I think that might have been 2006, 2008, somewhere around there, before Dodd-Frank, okay? And they had their own SAFE Act, which flat out said you had to have a license to do notes there. And I just would not, I won't touch a note in Illinois. And quite frankly, the investors that I know who live in Illinois, they're investing in both real estate and notes outside of Illinois. Sometimes, like for example, California. I'm not wild about California. California is so unique, and they have laws that we've never heard of. And so I don't want to invest in California, primarily for that reason. However, if you live in California and you do real estate there, and you're accustomed to using the escrow agent and all of those things that are different than other states, then by all means, don't let that stop you. Okay, that's a little different than Illinois, that flat out, I would not buy a note in Illinois. In general, the states that I would avoid, unless you live there, okay, then you can decide for yourself. But personally, I would avoid California, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, New Jersey, Maryland, and New York. And the primary reason is because of their super strict laws, and they are anti-investors, okay? So I hope that helps you. But the great news is that, you know, I live in Ohio. That's a great state to buy notes in, but most of the notes I buy are in Texas or Florida. I mean, you can easily market anywhere that you want, you know? So it's all a matter, if you're doing direct mail, where do you buy your list at? Now, granted, it would be hard to do networking in Florida if you live in Ohio, but I want to buy notes in Florida. So simply, you know, if I were you, I would do my direct mail there. And I will tell you that Florida and Texas are the hottest places to buy notes. I also do a lot in North and South Carolina, in Tennessee, in Ohio. Um, Arizona is another good one. So there's plenty of states there that you can invest in. Any questions on that specific topic before I move on? We good? So Connie, I definitely recommend that you look at some other areas, okay? And Bryson asks, why do I prefer seller carryback notes more than notes to fund rehabs? Are they safer? Are the profits higher? What's the difference? And I kind of touched on that earlier. And honestly, like the only time I cannot remember ever losing money on a seller carryback note. I was thinking of that when I wrote this question out. I don't remember ever buying a seller carryback and losing money. I have had a couple times where the people could not pay, but because I had done my due diligence, just like I teach you, and there was plenty of equity. For example, I had one lady who called and she said she could no longer make the payments. Her payments were 600 something. She said, I could pay 400 a month. Would you accept that if I immediately put the property on the market and plan on paying you off right away? Well, that would be negative amortization. In fact, it wasn't that much because if 400 covered most of the interest there. But I had so much equity in that investment that even though I let her balance her interest accrue, I still have plenty of equity. So a few months later, she sold the house, she pulled her equity out. So she didn't lose any money. And I was thrilled because I got an early payoff and my return went through the roof. And I took that money and went out and bought another note. So I could have really, I could have really taken advantage of her if I wanted to. I believe what goes around comes around. If you treat people right, you watch out for them, then you're blessed in return. And that's exactly what happened. So on the other hand, back in the 1990s, when I first got into the business, I was doing a lot of the loans to rehabbers. And I have since made a rule for myself that I don't invest in more than 3 notes with any one borrower. Because what happened was I had 2 different rehabbers that they were rocking and rolling, and I made a ton of money off of them. I mean, because they were all short-term loans. And so, they'd rehab the house and 3 months later they pay off. And I'm making 10 points for every loan that I did. I mean, it was awesome. And then what happened was, this was in Northern Ohio, industry shut down. I mean, all these major industries and whole cities just became like ghost towns. And I had a lot of notes that went bad then. And that's the only time, it was only on those rehab loans where I've lost money on notes. And so if you go to my private lending program on the website there, you'll see I have a totally different program and it is safer and I can still make those really great returns. I normally get 10 points and 10%. And in fact, I am going to increase my interest rate to 12, but I have made 10 points on private loans for 30 years. And so I encourage you to take a look at that because it is much safer than what you normally see. Okay, Regis wants to know for direct mail, if he has an out-of-state address, do I think that is going to inhibit his response rates? He's thinking whether or not, he's considering whether he should set up a virtual mailbox where they would forward the mail to him. We buy notes all over the country and all my students do. Could they maybe get more if they were marketing locally or if their address was a local address? I've never done any testing of that to say from a data standpoint, this would work better. The only thing I can tell you is that everybody that I know buys in other states. They buy all over the country. I think nowadays with, everybody's got unlimited calling and long distance, and we've got FedEx and UPS overnight. We do closings online now. I mean, I do not believe that locality is a barrier anymore. Again, I can't say that with data to back me up because I've never tested it, but that's what I personally believe. And I know that I close notes and my students close notes all over the country. So Regis, maybe you would want to try that. Maybe do like a test market. If you're marketing in another state, try 500 direct mail with a local address and 500 using your own address. And by the way, you never want to use your home address on your direct mail. Make sure that you like either have like a UPS or where you have a suite number and a post office box kind of thing. But don't use your home address ever when you are doing direct mail to strangers. Okay, and Regis asked, when setting up an LLC, do students sometimes attempt to remain anonymous on public records? Perhaps they have other professional jobs and they don't want any issues. It's funny because I'm working with a student right now that wants to do exactly that. And I had just this week emailed my son, Ben. Many of you know him. If you're with the Cincinnati or Columbus RIA, Ben was on the board for the Cincinnati RIA, and he is a licensed attorney in Ohio. And so I asked him what he recommended, and he concurred with me for this transaction that I'm closing right now. We set up a paper trust. That is a personal property trust. It is similar to a land trust, but it's designed to hold notes because notes are not land, okay? So we're setting up the trust, and then Ben advises that to form an Ohio LLC and make that LLC the trustee, or not the trustee, the beneficiary of the trust, okay? So then your name does not appear as the beneficiary, and you're going to have somebody else be a trustee. It is the trustee's name that goes on the public record. So you get someone else who can be the trustee for you. And then as far as the LLC goes, you pay someone to be your statutory agent. So that would be what's on file with the Secretary of State in Ohio. Your name would not appear as being a member of the LLC. It would just list whoever you hired to be a statutory agent. If you are in Ohio and you are interested in doing something like that, shoot me an email and I'll put you in touch with Ben. He does do that. That's part of the services that he offers. Okay. That was an excellent question, Regis. Okay. And then I've got some questions here on partials. If you're thinking about marketing in a geographic location where interest rates are sub 7%, should the primary strategy include proposing partials to sellers? Okay, well, it really depends on the terms of the note. And I hate to be so vague as to always say that, but it's the truth. I could take some sub 7% note, and one of them, I might be able to give a great offer for a full purchase, and another one I couldn't, simply because of the amortization period and various things like that. So what I would say is that you look at each note individually, and usually a partial is considered, the biggest reason is if there's not enough equity in the property. And that can also come into play where, like, if it's not seasoned well enough, or if the borrower is questionable, or maybe it's secured by a restaurant and they're not, the buyer is not comfortable with that, that would cause them to want more equity to make that a safer deal, but there's not enough equity. In that case, those are the times when you're really going to want to use a partial. So that's what I think drives a partial more than what the original interest rate is. How does the closing procedure or the transaction differ when buying a partial from the note seller? The actual transaction is not different. You go through the same process. The difference is in the documentation. And when you do a partial, you want to make sure that you use my partial purchase agreement. You don't use a standard note purchase agreement. And trust me, when I first started, I used someone else's partial purchase agreement. I did for that very first deal. He's asking about that, where the guy was in the Boone County, Kentucky jail. I used, when I sold that first part of that, it was to an institution and they had their own partial purchase agreement. Well, the problem is they don't adequately define who gets what. So I remember one partial that I did early on, when it came time to pay off, they calculated my portion as different than what I did. And so I made up a very specific formula, which I called the purchaser's entitlement. And I went to the attorney that I was working for at the time. And I said, look, put this in our note purchase agreement. And so he did. And I love it because it defines to the penny, even taking into account your acquisition costs, or if you had to advance payments for taxes, it includes all of that, plus an interest rate on any sums you did advance over and above, the note. And so it's real important that you use the partial purchase agreement. Now, that being said, I know some of you have heard me talk about my option agreement, and that it is a far superior way to doing partial purchases. And the reason is that the SEC does not like partial purchases. They feel that you have two individuals owning the same note, and therefore it is a security which requires a license if you're going to buy and sell partial. So I came up with a much better way using an option agreement. However, I have several banks that I work with, and they love partials. And I think the reason that they're not afraid of it, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm just surmising, but I would think that they have a license to buy and sell notes because they're always selling pools of notes and doing things like that. And so for them to buy a partial, it's no problem. And that is why I still will offer note sellers a quote partial. But if I buy a partial, it's going to be, I'm going to assign my contract to a bank and I'm going to let them actually be the purchaser, and then they can pay me an assignment fee. Okay. Because I don't have a broker's license and I don't intend to get one. I will let the banks handle that because they're licensed to do it. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. One other thing that I want to mention is if you start doing partials, do not sell more than one part. One of the early deals I did was such a cool deal. I mean, this is 30 years ago, but I sold a third to one person and a third to somebody else, and then a third to a third person. And it's a great way to really maximize your returns, but that would nowadays would really get you in trouble. So don't ever do that. Only sell one part of the note to someone. Okay. Any questions on partials?
I don't see any questions in the chat. If you guys want to unmute, you're welcome to.
Okay. And then I have a question here. Can I speak to the strategy of when you encounter a seller who is open to 100% seller financing as long as with a down payment, which is kind of contradictory there, but I know what he means. And then how do you open them up to selling part of that note for a down payment? Matthew, we have a report on that. I believe that's given out when people sign up for our mailing list. It's how to buy a property with no money down. We definitely have that report. If anyone does not have that, if you email me, I would be happy to, maybe we should just make that available on the dashboard. Can we do that? I know, I got the perfect thing. We can put it under additional resources in the partial course. Okay, so I will get that report out. But the way that it works is that you have the seller carry back 100% mortgage, note and mortgage. And then you assist them and facilitate the sale of maybe 3 years of payments. And so what happens is then by selling those 3 years of payments, that raises enough money to give them a substantial down payment. Now understand that for 3 years, they're not going to collect any money because you sold those payments to an institution or somebody, say. But after 3 years, then they would resume collecting monthly payments. And one reason why people will do that, besides the fact that they want to sell the house quickly, is let's say maybe you are a real estate investor and you don't intend to live in the property, and you have in mind that you're going to rehab it and flip it. So there's a very good chance that it might even pay off within 3 years in full. Okay, so there's lots of reasons or situations where people would be amenable to that. But that's how that works. So I will make sure to put that report in additional resources. Okay. All right. And then Carlos is asking about defaulted notes. He says he's mostly been doing the second position notes, and I'm assuming those are defaulted notes. Usually when people say that they do seconds, that's usually a defaulted second. The thing about the defaulted seconds, that is a completely different animal. In the right market, I love them. And if you can buy them right, I love them. But you must understand that you evaluate them completely different than any regular note that you're thinking of buying at a discount. So it's real important to understand that. But he's wanting to know if it would be a good idea to start in his own backyard with local banks and credit unions. I think that's a great idea on the non-performing notes, because a lot of the community banks and the credit unions, they're more apt to sell. First of all, they lend locally and they are more apt to sell to a local investor, I think. So I do think that that's a great idea. Do you have to limit yourself to that? No, but I do think it's a good idea. I know I have one gal who invests in notes full time, and her only method of getting non-performing notes is to call community banks and credit unions. And she simply calls and says, I'm a local investor. Do you have any non-performing notes that you would like to get rid of? And that's how she finds all of her deals. Smile and dial, as they say. Okay. So Carlos, I think that would be a great idea for you. Okay, Jean asked, what IRA trustee do you recommend? I think we covered that pretty well. So there you go for that. And I have one other question, also regarding non-performing. Josh is interested in working short sales with banks, and he wants to know if my course covers that. So it does cover that. If you go to the media set for the 2019 Academy, yes. However, it is very outdated. It was outdated 15 years ago. It was outdated. And that is one of the main reasons why I quit doing short sales. So like I said, I was really focusing on the non-performing, and my method for getting the non-performing notes was way different than everybody else's. Most people would buy a tape or a spreadsheet of non-performing notes that a hedge fund or bank was selling. And the problem with that is you can't contact the borrower, or, you can't do that. You have to just make your decision based on the information you have. So I developed a way where I would buy the 30, 60, 90-day list that mortgage brokers use when they're advertising to help people refinance. And and that means they're 30, 60, or 90 days late. Okay, so I already know that they've got an issue. And I send out what I call my From the Heart letter. It is a very kind letter that says, I know times are tough right now, and I understand you're behind in your mortgage. I can't guarantee anything, but I may be able to help you out. Give me a call and let's see what I can do. And so what I would do is I would get an authorization to release information from the homeowner. So now I call loss mitigation at the bank, and they have to talk to me because I'm calling on behalf of their client, and the client has authorized that. So I would talk to loss mitigation, and I would act like I was doing a short sale. And I would have done a short sale. I would start out as though I'm doing a short sale. And then at the appropriate time, I would say, hey, do you guys ever buy notes or sell notes? Because it's a lot easier if I were to just buy the note. Would you consider doing that? And so I would convert them from a short sale to a note sale. Okay. And many, many times you could do that. And then it became so common that banks saw that private investors were a great source for them to get rid of all these notes. And so that's when buying defaulted notes from the bank became much more popular. But here's the situation. What we ran into was there were so many short sales that the government regulation, both state-wise and federal, it was unreal. Plus, the banks kept changing the rules. Like you would have a game plan, like Countrywide, they want you to do this, 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 and this. And so you knew exactly what you needed to do to put your package together. Whereas Wells Fargo wanted something a little different, but you knew what Wells Fargo wanted. Well, it was like every time you would submit a package, they changed the rules. And it became impossible to stay up on. It was so frustrating. And many of them started only wanting to work with realtors. And many of them then started listing all of their short sales through realtors. And so for that reason, and because I really love doing seller carrybacks. And what many people do not realize is that in that 2008 downturn, the silver lining to that were the seller carrybacks. Everybody wanted to sell them, and many people were afraid of them. And so I got great deals on them. And then people were creating notes like crazy because of the interest rates, because not just interest rates, because banks would not loan money, because after that fiasco that they went through, it was like, all of a sudden they tightened up all their lending practices. And so while other people were thinking that the note market was dead, I'm making money hand over fist doing seller carryback notes. And I don't know how to say this, but on the non-performing notes, many people use it as like a mission, something where they help people. And I did that for a while as well. And when you can help people, it's awesome. But there's lots of times when you can't help them. And then it's very depressing. And that was one of the main reasons why I did not want to do the non-performing notes anymore, because you're constantly working with people who, are really down and out. And again, if you can help them, it's awesome. But if you can't help them, it like breaks your heart. And so I preferred to do the seller carrybacks, and that is what I have maintained doing for all of this time. And I will say this, like the last short sale that I did, I saved a very good friend of mine, literally almost $500,000 on a short sale. I mean, that was a godsend to her, and I am so thankful that I was able to help her. So short sales are great, and and you know, if especially if you are a realtor, I think that's a good thing to do. And like I said, when the defaulted market starts really booming again, here's my plan. I have a good friend who does non-performing notes, and we've discussed joining forces, and so that I can adequately cover and teach my students the non-performing notes as well. And like I said before, if you want coaching on it, I will do that with my Note Master students, just because of the time, the intensity of time that it takes. Anyway, I hope, Josh, that I answered your question. That was a long answer. I'm sorry. So, any questions? Whether on non-performing notes or anything we've covered tonight, or if you just have a totally different question that you've come up with.
All right, so I want to ask some questions that have come up in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see here. Amin asked, can we find the info of people holding notes at the county's tax assessor office?
It depends on the county, but generally speaking, yes. If they have an online presence, typically you can. The question would be how you would go about it. Like, what are you going to search for? You can't search, like you'd have to search either a permanent parcel number, street. I know some counties you can search for whole streets, and then you have to look at what financing is on it, or what documents have been recorded. So you could see the warranty deed, you could see a mortgage, you could see an assignment, and then you could click on that. Some of them you have to pay to get copies of it, or even to go online and use their services for an hour or whatever. But I have a number of students who have used the online county records as their means. Rather than paying for a list, they get their own list through that. And what they really like about it is they can see the documents. Like, I have one gal who is doing great, and she really evaluates the note before she even sends a letter. Now, I don't know how much time she's spending on that, but when she sends me a note, it's a highly qualified lead. So yes, that is a good way. You just have to check and see if the county that you're wanting to market in, if it offers that or not.
Okay. Let's see. Amin also asked, how do I talk to a home seller to offer owner financing as he can benefit from the capital gains tax?
Say that again, please.
How do I talk to a home seller to offer owner financing as he can benefit from the capital gains tax?
Oh, I'm not an accountant and I'm not good at this. So what I would generally say is, if someone, where to me this comes into play are in the larger notes. And when I have been dealing with someone that has $1 million mortgage on a property, what I say to them is, you know, if you sell this straight out and you get your cash, and the issue is that we don't know what their circumstances are. Okay, this is something that they have to talk to their individual accountant. But generally speaking, they could have a large taxable event if they out and out just sell the note for cash. Whereas if they carry back a note and they get paid off in installments, that can spread out that taxable event over a number of years. And so depending on where they are, you know, what's their taxable situation, that can be very positive for them. And so what I have done is I've suggested that to them and told them that they should contact their CPA and see if that would be something worthwhile to do. That's what I've done.
All righty. Let's see here. Next question. Just so you guys know, if you've put questions in the chat, I've got a long queue of them, so hang tight. Amin wants to know, can we find the info of people? Oh, the tax assessor already got that one. Okay, so Carl wants to know, Donna, what are your thoughts on notes and housing values leveling off or decreasing?
Notes or housing values?
Notes and housing values leveling off or decreasing.
Okay, that's another one of those tricky questions. Just like I said about the rates of return on notes, because there's so many different wild cards there. Yes, I can tell you that like the neighborhood that I invest in for rental properties, those values have started coming down in the last 6 months. But I can tell you in Florida, that market is booming. So there are different factors, and I think that it's more of a pocket type thing. And that's honestly why I recommend Florida, because it's such a strong market. And as far as the note values, I think I kind of answered that before, because theoretically you would expect for people to want more of a discount or a higher yield. But if they're wanting to sell if they're wanting to buy the note seller may not discount it to that much. And so you have to take a look at that. The big thing that I feel very strong about is that I see a lot of people who are afraid of this market. They think the sky is falling, the sky is falling, interest rates are going crazy. We're not gonna, rates are going up, interest rates are going up, values are going down. Like all hell is gonna break loose. And I gotta tell you that in my 35 years, I've seen at least 4 downturns in the real estate market. Do you know that in every one of them, those have been my highest profit times? I make more money in a downturn market than I do in a good market. So do you think I'm afraid of a downturn? I don't want a downturn. I mean, just for the good of everybody, I don't want a downturn. But am I afraid of it? Heavens no, because I know I'm going to make a lot of money. But I don't want to make it at everybody else's expense. So my preference is that we stay, status quo kind of thing. So I think that is very important to see. The other thing is, if you're not going to invest in a note, I've heard people say, well, I'd be afraid to invest in a note. What if the property value goes down? Well, first of all, I'm telling you, like in my private lending, I'm saying buy at a 40 to 50% loan to value. That means that the value of that property can drop by more than 50%. And you still could sell it and get all your money back. Okay. So the safety of the investment is wholly dependent upon your due diligence and upon the equity that is in that property. The more equity, the safer that investment is. And so now that we're in a market that we see could be making some major changes, you're just going to be much stricter with your due diligence. And so if you go, well, I want to lower the loan to value, but hey, this is an 80% loan to value, that's when you do the partial. Perfect example of when to do the partial. So first of all, I look at it like that, but then I also look at, if you're not going to buy a note, where are you going to put your money? I mean, seriously, you could buy the property, but you have the same issue that the property values could drop. And I sure don't want to own a bunch of properties. I can manage multiple notes. I can't manage multiple properties. I could, that used to be my profession, but I do not want to. Okay. So where would I put my money? Buy silver. Absolutely. I think silver is a great investment, but can you live off of it? I mean, it doesn't throw out a monthly income like a note does. Are you going to buy stocks? Can you live off the stocks? So when I look at the big picture and I look at my experience over 35 years, I am absolutely not afraid of this real estate market, regardless of what it does. The fact is, life goes on. You might feel like sticking your hand in the sand because you're afraid, but I promise you, there are people that still need to sell houses more than ever. And so they have to carry back a note, or they need cash and they have to sell a note. Life keeps going. When I got into this business, in 1987, interest rates were 18%. I mean, if you wanted a bank mortgage, you were going to pay 18%. I mean, if people can't fathom that today, but you know what? We all did it and we all got through it, and the seller carryback market was booming because of it. So you have to realize that what your paradigm is, that is your reality. If you believe that this market is going to crash and everything's going to fall apart, you're going to curl up, not do anything. And you know what? For you, that's going to be the truth. But what you have to realize is your reality is not necessarily the reality. The reality is life keeps going on. People still want to buy notes. They still want to create notes. And that if you do your due diligence properly, notes still can be a very, very safe investment. And that's why I do them all the time. So did you like that little soapbox that I just got on? That's my market update. But that's genuinely how I feel. You need to be more careful and more conservative when you are buying the notes. But notes to me are still the best investment that you can make if you are looking for a monthly income. You know, if you're just wanting to sock money away and keep it safe, silver and gold's a great thing to invest in. But you have to realize that if you need to cash out of that, you're going to pay a premium to cash out of it. You know, so you only want to do that on a, you know, if you're going to hold that for a long term kind of thing.
That's a great answer. I think David's question rather should be answered by that. Could you give us an update on the note market with the current interest rates and what's your forecast for the next year? So I think that answers that. Carl made it. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I did already say that the rates of my buy rate, what the yield that I want when I'm buying, that has gone up from 7 to 8% on a perfect note. So it is slowly increasing, but it's all relative to will you get the deal accepted?
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see here. Carl did mention in the chat that he said the average mortgage rate over the last 50 years is 7%. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Carl.
Okay, Kenneth. David, if anyone has a follow-up question or anything, let me know. I know we're quite a bit over time, but we'll roll through these few questions. Kenneth asks, hey, Donna, how do you feel about CFDs or land contracts for deeds or land contracts? Also, would you take a look at a note fresh out of closing, or do you need more seasoning? All right, so the first question
fresh out of what?
Let me just ask
Freshly
one at a
closing.
time. How do you feel about contracts for deeds and land contracts?
Okay, so I used to buy them without converting them to a note in mortgage. The problem, very similar to what I was talking about with Illinois and other states, is that the local, it's more, I think, along the counties, maybe statewide, but they are favoring the buyers instead of the investors, the owners of that property. And it's like all of the onus is on the seller. Anything that goes wrong, like making repairs and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's horrible, the hoops that you have to jump through and stuff. And I don't want that kind of liability. So nowadays, if I'm buying a contract for deed or a land contract, I would require at closing that I would convert that to a note in a mortgage. And the advantage of me buying that is that I will help them to do that. We will convert it and I will buy it simultaneously. So it's a great deal for the note seller if that's what you want to do. And what was the second part of that?
The second part of that was, would you take a look at a note that is fresh out of closing, or do you need more seasoning?
Generally speaking, we want 6 months to a year of seasoning. However, today I am working on it's a $1.2 million loan, and it has not been created yet. They expect to close December 15th. It is an awesome note. The buyer is paying full price. She is putting down a huge down payment. Her credit is top notch. I mean, it is an awesome property. And so, yes, I have a couple investors that are interested in buying that. And even though what they may do is require one payment to be made or something like that. I'm waiting to hear all the details on it. But if everything is really good and there's plenty of equity, great property, strong borrower, then yes, I do have people who would buy at closing. But I want you to know that that is usually the exception and not the rule. Okay, Matthew, I want to tell everybody about our Christmas celebration. And before
Oh, we have forgot to mention that. Let me share your screen.
we're going to have a Christmas party. How do you like that? I'm just in the mood, and so I decided, Matthew and I decided, I think this was your idea, wasn't it, Matthew? That we're just going to have a party online. And it's a week from this Friday. It's December 9th. And we put 7 to 10, but I think it should be 7 to 9 or question mark. But we're just going to get together, and Carl Fisher, who you heard from before, he's agreed to come and be our special guest. And he might talk for a half hour or so on investing in your IRA and why you need to have a self-directed IRA. And then we're going to have a Q&A, much like we did tonight, but we're going to party. In fact, we're going to have prizes like we did in the world tour. So you have 9 days to get your Christmas costume ready. Okay. And we will offer a $100 Amazon gift card for the best costume. And we'll have 2 runners up at $50 a piece. And you all will vote on who's got the best costume. So we'll have some fun, bring some food and whatever drinks you want, and just, it's going to be laid back. Let's just get together. We can have a Q&A. We can learn about investing in your self-directed IRA and just enjoy each other's company and get ready for the holiday. So there's no charge for it. Nothing like that. This is just a let's get together. So mark your calendars, December 9th. We'll be sending out an invitation tomorrow. And I hope you can join us. And thank you, Carl, for offering to come and be a part of it. Appreciate that.
I wouldn't miss it. I love your dress up parties.
I know. We have had fun, haven't we?
We have.
And what you guys don't know is that Matthew's got it on here, so maybe you know it now. Carl is a real living rocket scientist, okay? And so Matthew came up with the idea that he should be the elf that keeps Santa's sleigh in the air. So, so Carl, that's up to you, but if the shoe fits, wear it, you know?
Sounds good.
You can dress however you want.
All right, we got a few more questions here. Let's see.
Let's just take a few more, because in a week we're going to have a Q&A. But why don't we take 2 more questions?
All right. So
And then we can save the rest for the Christmas party.
All right. Well, I actually have 3 questions left. Can we just do all 3?
All right.
All right. Note buyer asks, cool name. Is there anything that can be done if there's an existing reverse mortgage on a property? Any way to restructure it or something else to make it a better deal for a note buyer? It's not.
I have never dealt with the reverse mortgages. I would need to look at the document and really sit down and figure that out. I have had no experience with it, so I really don't want to answer that question.
Michelle asks, she said, I'm a licensed realtor. How should I disclose that on my website?
We actually have a form in the Library of Forms that is a representation disclaimer. And most brokers actually have one of these. So if you have a broker you work for, you might want to ask them for it. But it basically says, that you acknowledge that I'm a licensed realtor and that I am doing this transaction for on my own accord in anticipation of profit. and that I am not acting in a fiduciary capacity on your behalf, and that if you need professional advice, that you should seek your own professional counseling. And so you could put something like that on your website. You need to disclaim it, because I mean, that's important, because as a realtor, you're expected to act in a fiduciary capacity. So you definitely want to make sure they're aware that in this case, you would not be.
Okay. And then last question for the night. And guys, like Donna said, if we have some leftover questions, or if I missed something in the chat, bring it with you to the Christmas party.
Better yet, email it ahead of time, because it works better if I can organize them so that I can put all the same subject together. I think it's not as disjointed.
All right, so our last question of the night comes from David. He asks, how do you start into investing in notes? I agree multiple properties are not good, so I have extra money that I want to invest in notes and no more real estate.
Okay, so how to start is the question.
Yeah.
Call me. Seriously,
Here's a good place to start, right up here.
everything that I teach, most people are wanting quick cash. And so I teach how to flip a note. That is what most people want to learn. But in your case, when you do your marketing and you find a note, instead of flipping it to someone else, you keep it for yourself. You want to be Irene or Ivan investor. Okay, if you have cash, you want to be the investor. And so you're still going to evaluate it the same way. It's just a matter, you don't have to build in anything for the middleman, because you're the end buyer. And I am happy to work those transactions with you. If you're wanting to market for your own notes to hold in your self-directed IRA, we can do that. And I'll still walk you through the transactions. The way that I normally do that is I treat you like an investor. So I figure out, I think this note we can sell to an investor at an 8.5% return. And so I would figure out what our profit is, and then half of that would be allocated to you and half would be allocated to me. Even though we don't literally split it like that, you would just pay me my share. Okay. So I'm happy to work with you on that.
All right, that's all the questions, Donna. Let's go over the offer one more time. I'll put the link in the chat again, and then we'll sign off.
Okay, so real quick, again, if you bought at OREA's National Summit just a few weeks ago, you don't need to buy anything else. You've got everything that you need. Just jump on that website and start going through the material, do your marketing, and let's hit the ground running the first of the year, okay? Otherwise, for everyone else, if you have still, if your Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching is still active, which means you've probably bought in the last 6 months, then you get a free upgrade to the website, okay? No charge. But you have to opt in. You must email and let us know that you want to opt in on that. You will also have free access to all the archives. And then if you want to expand or extend, I should say, extend your Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching, you can purchase the additional coaching for only $747. And that's for an additional 6 months of coaching. The website upgrade is free and the archive access is free. The $747 is for additional coaching if you want it, okay? Then we have, if you have invested recently in the last 3 years, which means that you have my 2019 media set, in that case, to upgrade and get the new website, to get all of the archives, and to extend your coaching for another 6 months, you can do all of that for only $747, okay? And then the last group is if you have never been a student, I would love to have you be one. Or if you have been with me for a long time, then it's time for you to upgrade, okay? If you do not have the 2019 media set, then you are working off of old, outdated material, and you really do need to upgrade. And this is a great time to do it. Like I said, I am very, very excited about this market. So new students or longtime students, you can get everything for only $9.97, and the retail price of that is $24.97. So this is almost a $1,500 savings. You will get the whole new website that I just shared with you. You will get archives. That means all of my educational material that I've previously done, you have access, except there's some things that I took off because it was so outdated. I don't want you to use it. But in general, you'll get the master guide, smart seller financing, calculator, and all of that. And you'll get 6 months of the easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. And you get all of that for only $9.97. You can just click at the bottom of this page. Where do they need to go to the notebuyer.com? That's what they need to do, right? The notebuyer.com.
No, just, they're on the notebuyer.com and just click on that button, and it'll take you to an order form. If you click on this button.
Is that on the first page of it?
For what now exactly? Sorry.
Don't they have to go to the notebuyer.com /Christmas?
Yes.
You didn't say that. Okay. So in order to take advantage of this, you need to go to thenotebuyer.com /Christmas. And that will take you to this page. So you can click on one of these buttons at the bottom. If you have any questions, any problems, just shoot us an email at info@thenotebuyer.com, and I promise you, we will take care of you. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, everybody. You guys had some great questions tonight. And keep an eye out on your email. We're going to send out an announcement for the December 9th Christmas party. And get on Amazon and get your costume stuff, get your props, get your, we don't have it on there, but Donna's giving away $1,000. No, I'm joking. $100 gift card for first place and 2 runners up at $50 a piece. So,
And the theme is going to be in the North Pole. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Use your imagination. On the world tours, we had some really wild costumes. It was really a lot of fun. And again, this is just a good time to get together. We'll have a Q&A like we're doing here. It will be very laid back. Carl Fisher will give a half-hour or so presentation on why you need to have a self-directed IRA, and he'll be happy to answer any questions, as will I. Okay, so thank you for joining us, and I really look forward to a great 2023, and I hope we close a lot of notes together. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, so I don't see you at the party next week. Okay, God bless.